Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. It's one of those times. Start the show, not sure what day of the week it is, and you just eventually get there. It is a Wednesday, about half that work week in the rearview mirror. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Excited to be here for the next 2 hours. JD Piquel of On3 Sports in his normal spot on Wednesdays. Talk all things college football with JD. It's a What If Wednesday. Get to those at the bottom of hour number one. I want to talk at the top of hour number two about freshman running backs. Obviously, a lot has been made about the push that we're seeing to get a freshman running back on the field. Question is Caleb Jackson ready to go? And what's reasonable for really talented young freshman running backs? We'll talk about that at the top of hour number two. Quinn Grovey was an all-conference quarterback up at Arkansas, now does color for the Hogs Razorback Network, so he will be with us at 2:15. And, of course, it is Wednesday, so that means our SEC football power rankings are coming at you, coming up at the bottom of hour number two. Appreciate y'all hanging with us. Let's get things started. Brian Kelly had his SEC teleconference appearance earlier today. He leads that off, and as you would expect, the first couple of questions that he got were about the developments in the situation that arose earlier this week with last week with Greg Brooks. He was held out, said it was a medical situation. It was a situation that his family was going to have to talk about before he brought any further details. And last night, the report came out, and LSU released a statement saying that Greg Brooks did have a brain tumor and an operation. They removed a good amount of that brain tumor or all of it, and they'll just have to get the biopsy and see what further steps need to be taken for him, which is obviously a very, very scary situation for Greg Brooks. But I guess if you want to look at it as a positive, it is a positive they did catch that and were able to get him on the operating table. And now it's just a question of how things move forward. And Brian Kelly was asked about Greg Brooks earlier today.
We were trying to find out what, the symptoms were, and he had another episode. He had dizziness again on Thursday actually, I think it would have been Wednesday of last week. Finally, we said that enough's enough, and we got an MRI, and that's when the tumor was located. So, the vertigo was just a symptom of what was obviously a larger issue.
It's just scary stuff, and it's stuff that we heard about in camp, that Greg Brooks was dealing with some vertigo issues and had some dizziness and missed some time. And if you get that, you never really think too much of it. It's hot out there, and sometimes guys get some heat-related symptoms and have to miss some time, and it's not anything that we think twice about. But when it continues to recur, obviously they wanted to get a look at it, and they got the MRI, checked it out, and found the cause of it, which I guess is a positive thing in that sense, but it's very, very scary, no question. And so the question that was raised after that was, okay, well, we know what it is now. Is it possible that Greg Brooks could potentially play this year?
That's so hard for me to even know, what there are so many unanswered questions. I don't even know that I could even begin to give you the medical pieces relative to the surgery to even give you an educated answer to that. I saw him in the hospital on Sunday. He's still coming out of, heavy sedation, so we weren't able to have a lucid conversation. But I know before he went in, he was pretty clear about playing again this year. But that's Greg Brooks.
And obviously, that's what a young person wants to do. They want to get this figured out and get rid of it, and then go play again. That's how we're wired. Obviously, we know that that's not necessarily the way that it always works. Our certainly continued thoughts and prayers and are with Greg and his family and the doctors that are surrounding him, and you hope for the best outcome possible, which is a full recovery. And if that means playing some more football this year, that's fantastic. If it doesn't, that's just part of it, but his health certainly comes first. But from an LSU perspective, our job's kind of to sit here now and go, okay, well, what does that mean for this LSU team? We know that this group struggled mightily in the secondary in their opener. Florida State kind of threw it all over the place. You don't get a great test against Grambling, obviously, but without Greg Brooks in the Mississippi State game, LSU's defensive backs played better. Now, they got a huge boost from the pass rush, which was significantly better against Mississippi State than it was against Florida State, and Florida State's quarterback is much more adept at moving in the pocket and extending plays than Will Rogers is at Mississippi State. But here's the situation that LSU's defensive back room finds it in. And we want to start, obviously, with safety, where Greg Brooks was logging most of his snaps. Major Burns continues to be a starter and really a key guy in the back of the defense, but Andre Sam would step right in. And I believe that there is a negligible difference between Greg Brooks and Andre Sam on the field. Their measurables are not wildly different. They're both very, very old college players. Neither is flying up draft boards anytime soon, but both are accomplished veteran players that you can count on to be in the right place and to make some plays. It hurts LSU not to have Greg Brooks because it hurts your depth there. And there were times, especially in fall camp and then moving into the season, where you could look at LSU's secondary and say, well, they may be best suited to have three safeties out there. Having Major Burns, Andre Sam, and then maybe Greg Brooks sliding down to the nickel or the dime is better than some of the corner situations that they've got. And so that was just a situation that the cornerback coaches were going to have to, and secondary coaches were going to have to deal with. You've got Robert Steeples, you got Kerry Cooks, and hey, how are we going to cook this thing up? And now you lose Greg Brooks for X amount of time. Sam stepping in, I think it's a negligible impact. You do hurt your depth significantly because after Sam at safety, you're looking at Ryan Yates got a look at the end of the game last week. Sage Ryan, I guess, could back up and play some safety if you needed him to. Jordan Allen has not been called upon to play in his LSU career very much. You've got freshmen Kylan Jackson, Javian Toviano, who haven't been asked to play. So really, it's Major Burns and Andre Sam and not much after them at the safety spot. At corner, you've still got Zy Alexander. You've still got Denver Harris. You've still got Deuce Chestnut. Sage Ryan can still play down there. You're working Ashton Sampson. LaTerrence Welsh is now in his second year. So you do have some options at corner if you have to pull Sage Ryan back. But that's basically what you're looking at in the secondary. I shouldn't say we. I don't want to speak for you, the listener. I don't want to speak for anyone else here at the station. I'll speak for myself. I personally don't know exactly what this secondary is. My concerns were massive in August. They were massive the first week of September, and they were amplified when we watched this group play Florida State. I can't get any read on anything against Grambling. I realize they put Denver Harris in there to start, and Grambling goes down the field, and they beat Denver Harris for a touchdown, and then he gets a pass interference, and that doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies inside. Okay? But last week against Mississippi State, Will Rogers struggled to find a lot of places to go with the football, and that's a good thing. You probably take a little bit of a step up in terms of functionality of the offense with Arkansas. They're not great, and their offensive line has struggled, but they do have a quarterback who's probably more comfortable in his system than Will Rogers is in his. And you'll get down the road to Jackson Dart, who's very comfortable in his system and is a really good player. And you'll get down the road to, yes, Connor Wigman and this A&M offense that does have some playmakers. And you'll have tougher matchups as time goes on, and we'll learn what this secondary is. I'm hesitant to call it either way at this point. I would say concerned is very fair for me. I would say I certainly haven't given up on them. I think there's absolutely an opportunity for the secondary to get better. However, you're going to have to do it without one of your captains back there in Greg Brooks for the foreseeable future. Certainly not going to play this week, and I wouldn't imagine going to play for the next few. That's just my guess. I'm not a neurosurgeon by any stretch of the imagination, but that's just where I see it. So do I think it's a debilitating blow? No. Do I think it matters? Yes. Do I think there's a significant drop-off between Greg Brooks and his immediate backup, Andre Sam? I don't. I think LSU is a similar secondary in the first team on Saturday as it was when they went out there against Florida State 2 weeks ago. Well, better than that because Denver Harris is now available. So we'll see. We'll see. It might not be this week that we find out, but when you go to Oxford, you'll know. So, again, our thoughts, prayers, all the good vibes headed towards Greg Brooks and his family as they look forward. They look through this really difficult challenge, but hopefully the doctor's there and everything goes great, and he's back in action before we know it. 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust looking for the ultimate tailgate. Snap a pic of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win $500 in Rouse's gift cards. Our judges going to select a winner on September the 29th. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Markets, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. If you're in the Bayou Ford chat right now, throw us a What If Wednesday. We'll get to those in 20 minutes when we come back. J.D. Piquel of On3 Sports is our guest. We'll talk all things college football. That is coming up next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And
Charles Sandgriff, join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza in downtown Baton Rouge. Matt Humans is with us, Dwayne Colucci, and we look ahead to the weekend in college and pro football. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gotten a look at a couple of the What If Wednesdays that are coming up in 15 minutes, and a couple of them made me chuckle. So if you got some of those, fire them into the Bayou Ford chat or hit me on Twitter at HuntPalmer88, and we'll get to those at 1:30 as we always do. But at 1:15 on Wednesdays, we talk to our guy JD Piquel, host of the Hard Count, part of the On3 network over there on YouTube. He joins us now. JD, how are you, sir?
What's popping, baby? I'm doing exceptional. Nice intro beat there.
Yeah.
Is that a new little instrumental? I was feeling that one, man.
Listen, I sit in this chair. I'm about 12 feet from Jacob and Casey over there. I could not tell you one thing that goes on behind those computers, on those buttons. There's nothing over there I understand. I just know to sit in this chair and start talking. So that's all Casey right there on the ones and twos. Bigger disappointment on Saturday, Tennessee getting walloped in the swamp, or Alabama sleepwalking through Tampa?
I think from a fan base perspective, probably have to go Tennessee, just because like this was the year, right? Like Heupel's going to turn it around and Joe Milton's going to pick this thing up where they left off last year with Hendon Hooker, and then to go into the swamp and not just get beat, but like there were times where they didn't even look competitive. And then that's not to say they don't have great players, not to say that like they're not going to be fine the rest of the way, but to get into that spot and to have all the expectations on this season and to play a team in Florida who didn't look all that astounding week one against Utah, like I think the taste in the mouth of the Tennessee fan base is extremely disappointing. Alabama, obviously you hate as well, but to be able to tell the tale after a win, it probably sits a little bit differently, and you can call it, hangover from Texas. So Tennessee, I think, is a fan base that's feeling a little bit lackluster after that one.
We'll talk Alabama and Ole Miss moving forward and towards the back half here, but I do want to stay back in what we saw last week. And just kind of in the last 3 weeks, who's the best team in the Pac-12?
That's a great question. So the good faith part of it, to me, makes me lean USC, but like Oregon, I think, is the team that has proven the most at this point in the year. Like if you were to put it all in a vacuum, Washington's been really impressive, but I think Oregon has the most impressive win. Like the Michigan State win for me with Washington, it's good. I mean, Michigan State's kind of in shambles in itself. I think Texas Tech may be one of the best teams in the country with a losing record. Like to go to Lubbock, to play the way they did, to have a gritty showing, and play some complimentary football. I got to go with Oregon based on what we've seen this year. I'm still sticking with USC because when USC rolls out there and has their best day, I don't know if there's anybody in the country that can just pencil in a win against them, with Caleb Williams being Caleb Williams. So I'll say USC overall is my pick. If we're just looking at this 3-game sample size, I'll say Oregon based on what we've seen so far.
Since Marcus Mariota and company blew Jameis Winston and Florida State out in the first playoff, the Pac-12 has not had a very good go of it. But if you were to stack up Washington, Oregon, stack up Utah, or even USC against the Ohio States, Michigans, Georgias, Texases of the world, do you think they're ready to take that on in the playoff come January if somebody can get there?
No, I don't. I love the idea of a Pac-12 team getting into the college football playoff, just from a pure, like, the way we talk about the conference standpoint, because they're about to blow the conference up anyway, it sounds like, here in the next couple of months. Like, how fitting would it be for them to turn the lights out on that conference with the team making the playoffs? So that's the first part of that. The second part of that, though, I still have reservations about the way they match up on the line of scrimmage, as I think most people do. USC is really curious because you feel better about their personnel than you have in the past, and they went and got themselves some dudes from the SEC, from the Big Ten, to kind of beef up that line of scrimmage. So that they're the most intriguing to me with what I said about Caleb Williams in addition to that line. So they're the one team that you don't love the matchup on paper, but you can kind of talk yourself into it if you give yourself a few weeks, like we're going to give ourselves here if USC finds themselves in the college football playoffs. So USC stacks up the best, but as a whole, man, I think it's tough for me to be sold on any of those teams, besting a Georgia or a Ohio State or a Michigan. I think those would just, as a whole, not favor them at all.
Florida State's favored by 2 in Clemson, 11 a.m. on ABC on Saturday. You like the Noles to go in there and win?
I do, man. This kind of that feeling for Mike Norvell and for Florida State. Like, everything he's done as the head coach there leads up to a game like this. I'm like, this is why Jordan Travis comes back and Jared Verse comes back. Obviously, draft stock's a big part of that, but like, you would have to imagine once they got back into that building and decided, okay, we are going to stay at Florida State, that Clemson game is at the top of your list. And so if you want to, if you want to be the king, you want to sit in the throne, you got to snatch the crown from the king currently in that throne. That's Clemson. And so for them to go in there and to do it in Death Valley, I think would say a lot about how far they've come since Mike Norvell has taken that job. And also the interesting subplot, like think about just the dichotomy in these two different philosophies with the way Dabo Swinney's built Clemson and the way that Mike Norvell has assembled Florida State through the portal. I mean, it would be an indictment on Clemson in a lot of ways, and it would be kind of a, hey, we've arrived moment for Florida State. So I like them to win. I like them to cover, and I think it's going to be an electric game because I expect Clemson to, without a doubt, go down swinging and empty the clip on Saturday.
So you think the Boston College game for Florida State was just kind of a look-ahead spot?
Hey, I think that was exactly what the doctor ordered. Like you said, look-ahead spot. Also, red bandana game for Boston College. Like, anytime you got the red bandana atmosphere for BC, like, the odds makers in Vegas should adjust that line accordingly because I'm imagining they probably lost a fair amount of money on Florida State minus 26.5. And also mobile quarterback. Like, there was a lot of pieces that went into it. And I think it was exactly that wake-up call for Florida State to kind of have to look in the mirror and notice, okay, hey, if we play this way against Clemson next week, like, boys, we're leaving with an L. So you hate to see it. It probably sucks to watch and film the next day, but it's a lot better to watch it after a win than have to watch it after a loss by having to play that way against Clemson. So I think it was, like you said, look ahead, and I think it's something that's going to help them long term.
I read an interesting story on The Athletic today about Notre Dame and their ticket office instituting policies to keep away fans out of big games, and they referenced the Georgia game from 2017 that was just flooded with dog fans. This week, they're trying to keep Ohio State fans out of Notre Dame Stadium. Buckeyes are 3-point favorites. Is Marcus Freeman's program ready to win that game?
Yeah, first, hey, how about the ticket office of Notre Dame living up to the academic acumen out there in South Bend? Like, that is just chess over checkers, 100%. Man, I was surprised to see that Ohio State was favored in this game, to be honest with you. Kyle McCord, I love the fact that they blew somebody out, and I love the fact they hung 63 on Western Kentucky, but, like, as a whole, that was the first time we've really seen him look awesome. I mean, that was the first time we've seen that Ohio State Ferrari offense look like how it's supposed to look. I mean, I really like the balance of Notre Dame. I love Audric Esme downhill, and kind of similar to what we talked about with Florida State. Like, this is the game that you brought Sam Hartman to South Bend for. This is the game that Marcus Freeman built for since he became the head coach at Notre Dame. So I think there's a lot of storylines within this one, but ultimately I feel more confident in what I've seen from Notre Dame than the lack of consistency I've seen from Ohio State. So I'm fired to watch it, but it'll be a good one. I think Ohio State actually ends up dropping that one in South Bend.
Excited to get your thoughts on Ole Miss, Alabama. We'll do that at the end. A couple more SEC games before we get there. Any intrigue in Hugh Freeze and Auburn with Texas A&M this weekend?
We picked that game this morning on the show. And I kid you not, I was in the room next to our studio kind of prepping. That was the last segment I was working on. And I was like, got to the point where we kind of walked through the matchups, walked through, which side favors which in terms of, the front seven and the skill players. And I got down to the pick and I was like, I genuinely do not know which way to lean. I ended up picking A&M just out of sheer desperation. Like, it's going to get very, very loud in College Station, Texas, if they drop a game at home to a first-year head coach at a new spot with Hugh Freeze. So I picked A&M, but, man, like, the thing that concerns me if I'm A&M, I did not love at all, I'm a Texas A&M fan, what I saw from that secondary against Miami. Like, Tyler Van Dyke, I think, just threw another touchdown pass. He was just playing 7-on-7 out there. And the issue with me with that one is I think the pass catchers are actually better for Auburn than Miami was showing out there. So I think in this game, if Peyton Thorne can be dialed in enough and be more consistent, like, this thing gets really interesting. Overall, though, I think the quarterback play, you feel better about Connor Wegman and the talent level at A&M. So picking A&M, but that one is going to be fascinating and just be a great gauge for what we get to learn about Auburn. I mean, we haven't seen them play anybody yet. Some kind of mess around with Cal for the duration of 4 quarters and find a way to win that one on the road. But, I mean, overall, I think it'll just be a great litmus test for Auburn, and it is a very, very high pressure, the equivalent of a must-win, as much as you can get a must-win in week 4 as you can for Jimbo Fisher and co.
I'm right there. The needle doesn't move either way if A&M beats Auburn. Hugh Freeze's first year, whatever, lost a game, and A&M, they kind of hold serve, they win. A&M loses that game / Auburn wins that game. Both schools feel very, very differently about the way things are headed. Before Ole Miss, Bama, let's talk LSU and Arkansas. Tigers did not see KJ Jefferson last year in Fayetteville. They will inside Tiger Stadium at 6 o'clock at night on Saturday. Your thoughts on the Tigers and what you saw from them last week and then this one against Arkansas?
Yeah, hey, how about Jaden Daniels unhitching the wagon in the pass game, huh? How about him just taking the trailer off and uncorking it a couple times deep to Malik Neighbors? Like, had to love that if you're in Baton Rouge. I think the thing that I'm looking for in this game is just how LSU is able to go from a great win against Mississippi State, hit the reset button, collect themselves, and then be that same team against a team that you're supposed to be, quite frankly, in Arkansas. I believe the line's like 17.5 favoring the Tigers right now. That's kind of been the question for us with them under Brian Kelly so far is, okay, tons of talent. They're well coached, good quarterback, a lot of skill players. Like, are they going to be the same team week in and week out where we see them look like they did against Mississippi State this upcoming week? Or is it, well, they play that way against Mississippi State, and then we see the version that was out there against Texas A&M last year? So just having that internal standard be kept, I think, is a part of, having a new coaching staff there, obviously in year 2 under Brian Kelly. So I think on paper, like, everything favors LSU. The one subplot for me in this one is KJ Jefferson and what he's going to do in the design quarterback run game, because that's hard to account for in the defense. That's annoying to have a whole period of practice dedicated to, okay, this is how we defend quarterback power. This is how we defend sweep. This is how we defend read option and stuff they're already familiar with, but having to have the little nuances spent during a week on, tackling big number 1 for Arkansas, like, that's just another thing you have to insert into a game plan. And for an offense, you get an extra blocker anytime your quarterback runs the football. So curious how they defend that and curious in their approach. But overall, I think the Tigers end up winning that one and kind of keep the good thing rolling from the game in Starkville.
Lane Train's rolling into T-Town. They ready to win that one? The only team in the West Lane Kiffin has not beaten. Alabama seems to be leaking a little oil.
Man, it kind of feels like if you're a Ole Miss fan, hey, if not now, when? We're having players-only meetings in Tuscaloosa after we play USF. Like, if we don't get them in this game, when's it going to happen? And so I don't mean to start the conversation around, it'll get kind of uncomfortable in Oxford and Lane Kiffin this, Lane Kiffin that. Like, I think that's kind of an overreaction. But to the same token, you're like, hey, man, if you want to take down your former boss, this is probably the game to do it. Everything kind of trending your way short of it being in Oxford. Obviously, they got to go to Tuscaloosa. But the thing with me with this game is, like, you ever seen Lord of the Rings? You ever seen the no spoiler here, but where Gandalf the Grey, actually no, it is a spoiler. Gandalf the Grey falls off the cliff, and you're like, hey, that's it for Gandalf. He's done. But you never see the body, like, he's dead, but you never see the body. That's kind of how I feel about Bama right now. Everyone's saying they're dead. Everyone's saying they're done. Lost to Texas, looked that way against USF. But I'm like, until I see the body of an Alabama Crimson Tide football team in week 4, until I see them with 2 losses, like, I can't believe that they're actually dead. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I'm leaning Alabama, and until I see a body, we're going Alabama in that game. And if they drop another one in Tuscaloosa, they're 2 losses by week 4, I mean, I think you gotta say, okay, there's the body.
I think you just might. We'll see. I'll have my pick on Friday, but appreciate your time on this Wednesday. Enjoy the football this weekend, man. We'll do it next week.
Likewise, I appreciate you, man. Talk to you soon.
JD Piquel, On 3 Sports, host of The Hard Count. Check out On 3's YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. You can get JD's content each and every day. Appreciate him for hanging out with us on Wednesday afternoons. When we come back, it's a What If Wednesday on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. The collaboration between the two is going to provide patients in our region with cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the country. Ochsner is the first and only provider in Louisiana that's got a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. Plus, they've got access to MD Anderson's protocols, their practice standards, and direct access to their specialists and researchers. Ochsner and MD Anderson Cancer Center offers groundbreaking research and innovative therapies, including select clinical trials available to eligible patients. That expert care is going to be offered in 7 different locations around New Orleans, St. Tammany, and right here in Baton Rouge. Ochsner and MD Anderson are working together to certify additional sites in the future. For more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, visit ochsner.org.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is #1, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance.
It's Gabe Voisin, inviting you to join me, along with the coaches Todd Black and Jimmy Roy, for the next edition of Louisiana Prep Weekly. Our special guest will be Port Allen head football coach Don Gibson. Live from Walk-Ons in Town Center, it's Louisiana Prep Weekly, Wednesday night at 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Just coming across the news in the NFL, Marcus May, Saints safety, suspended for the next 3 ball games. Kind of figured that was coming somewhere along the line. May arrested for driving under the influence. So we'll see how that shakes things out with the Saints secondary. Certainly talk about that a little bit more as the week progresses. But Marcus May will miss the next 3 games for the New Orleans Saints. All right, it's 1:30 on a Wednesday. Time for What If Wednesday.
Space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, first one here. What if you had to eat one exact meal for the rest of your life?
So I guess if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna have to consider like health situations
I
here.
feel like we had one, like, I don't know if it was
we
the
did
exact
one
same.
for like a type of cuisine at one point. Like if I was going just plainly based on taste here, like I'm gonna go pizza. I could eat pizza every meal. I could eat it for breakfast. I could eat it for lunch. I could eat it for dinner. I would never get sick of it. I could do pizza all day, every day. However, I don't know if that's the best thing for me in terms of health. Man, that's going to be tough because I just hate eating super healthy. Like I'm doing it right now. I don't get excited for salads. Like it just doesn't help me out. Man, like grilled chicken breast, I would just go nuts if I had to eat that every single meal. I don't have a great answer for that, quite frankly. I mean, it's got to be something reasonable. I'm just going to croak at 47 years old if I have something that's just great tasting and horrible in terms of calories and cholesterol and that whole deal. Like, what's my option here? Something that I can eat every meal that's, I mean,
could it be a combination of things? Like, instead of just like saying one dish. I don't know. I feel like if you could have like a steak with a salad, you'd probably be okay.
Yeah, but can I afford that? I mean, I'm eating fillets every
That's
meal.
true.
Like
Well,
that's gonna get a little pricey.
Yeah. I don't know if we took that into consideration though.
I mean, I guess there's some other. If we're going just based on taste. And like I'm not one of those persons that's like, you want to go here? Well, I had that yesterday. Like I'm good if it's good. Like I'll eat it 2 days in a row. I'll just cut out all the health and financial considerations, and we're just gonna go pizza. I could eat pizza every single day.
All right, next one. What if you could find out the date of your death?
This was a conversation we had, like heavy conversation in my 10-person group text. It's just always going. And shockingly to me, 8 people were on one side and I was on the other on this.
8 people said they would want to know.
8 people were on one side. I was on the other. I didn't tell you where it was.
I know, but
I am so staunchly in one corner here. I can't even see the other side. Give me the information. You have to. I would absolutely know. I would understand what my life insurance needs to be. I would understand how much I need for retirement. I would know if things needed to be moved up a little bit, if I needed to do some things that are on my bucket list. I realize you could say, well, you could just bump your life insurance right now. You could go do your bucket list right now, but like it's not practical. Plus, on the other side, some people are like, well, if I'm going to die at like 46, like I'm going to be counting down the days. And that's one side of it. But also, like, if I'm going to live to be 97, like I'm going to need to consider that in retirement, like at how much I've got socked away. Like, give me the money so I can plan for it. If you don't want the information, then you're going to have to plan for something really bad that happens early, or the other end where you're here for a really long time. I'd just like to know so I can set some things up. Plus, I think I can mentally kind of prepare those around me for I'm checking out here at,
I was
at a
going to
certain
say,
point.
are you going to tell like your family?
I mean, I don't know what the parameters on this deal are, like, but I would want to know, like, just quite frankly with you, if I'm 35 years old, I'm gonna be 36. If I found out like the clock's running out at 42, like I'm gonna get to Scotland to play golf before that comes out. And right now, as we sit here, like I'm probably not gonna do that in the next 7 years, based on where I am in my life, like professionally with the family, like getting kids in school and the whole deal. Like probably not gonna go do that. But if I found out like that's it, I'm jacking the life insurance up and I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go do that. So and the other part of it is just like financially planning. Like it's just, and to me, I would be okay if you told me, yeah, you only got like 6 years left. Like I can mentally compartmentalize that. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and go, oh God, it's 7 years. Like I would just okay, I don't have to worry about that anymore. And only 2 people in my 10-person group text felt like that. The other 8 people were like, nope, can't do that, couldn't live with it mentally. Okay, if that's how you want, but just give me the information. If it's there and available, I'll plan things out the way that I need to.
What if you could have one job in sports for a year?
Ooh, interesting. A couple of things come to mind. I'm not capable of going to play. So I can't go play quarterback for the Jets. Like that's not in the cards. I can't go play shortstop for the Cubs. That's not going to go very well. I'm not going to get a hit the whole season, and I'm going to make a lot of errors. So I can't play. There are some things that I do think would be cool. I would really enjoy 1 year being a caddy on the PGA Tour. Now, I'd really like it if I had a good player, if I could put that caveat in there. And you make some good money, you travel the country, you're out there on the golf course, you're in the competition, but you don't actually have to hit the golf shot. Like, I just got to get the lines. I don't know if Spieth wants me reading too many of his putts, quite frankly. But I would love to be a caddy on the PGA Tour for a year. I would also not hate being a Major League Baseball beat writer for a year. Now, Scotty Scheffler's caddy makes a lot more than the beat writer for the Twins. Like so financially, you're looking at a different deal. But traveling the country, seeing different ballparks, watching baseball every night, writing your stories. I wouldn't want to do that for 40 years with a family, but I would like to do it for one. So I think those are the 2 that kind of jump up. I mean, there's a part of me that would kind of like to be like a general manager for a year, but you wouldn't get to see the fruits of your labor at all. So if I'm just looking at a year, I think Major League Baseball beat writer, which kind of travels the country, see a lot of cool things that I haven't seen before. And then I would look at caddy, which would also be very cool.
All right, this one comes from an anonymous source. What if your father was a Louisiana Tech grad and took you to Ruston on Saturdays in the fall for Tech games?
Okay, so I'm a Shreveporter, as you all know, and I've got a lot of friends that went to Tech, and they love Tech. They love their time there. They love to go there on Saturdays, and I think that's awesome that they want to do that. I've been to 2 Louisiana Tech football games in my life. One, I was like 6. I went with the Bearfields, my friends down the street, and I don't really remember anything about that game. But I did go back about 8 or 9 years ago. They played Rice to win the
Conference USA
division, whatever division they were in. The winner of that game went to play Marshall in the Conference USA championship. So big game. Think if LSU was like playing Arkansas or Auburn, like to win the West. There was nobody there. My cousin who was there, and he was like probably 7 or 8 or 9. He was playing tag in the bleachers around us with his friends, like literally playing freeze tag in the bleachers. And then after the game, like people like brought their Frisbees out on the field and like treated it like a park. It was far closer to my high school games at Loyola College Prep on Clyde Fant Parkway in Shreveport than it was to Tiger Stadium. It's 2 different worlds. So I'm thrilled that Tech has a great fan base, and the friends that I have in high school, buddies that I had that went there and love Tech and love to go there on Saturdays. Like, if that's what you want to do, it's awesome. I'm so out. I could not be more out. It felt like a high school game.
This one's from Twitter. What if the U.S. won gold in basketball in 1988 and the Dream Team was never formed?
That's interesting, and that would be bad if the U.S. won gold in 1988 and then in 92 they didn't go to Barcelona. Like, that would have been a negative thing, and that we would have lost in the annals of history to have that team with 3 of the biggest figures in the history of the sport, with Magic, Larry, and Michael going there to do that, and putting that team together that was so legendary. I think most people would suggest it had a massive impact on basketball throughout the world, and there's a reason why the NBA is as global, and the international stars that we've got coming into the league are there. And I wouldn't suggest that all of them are because of the Dream Team, but the Dream Team certainly helped. And there's a little bit of that may come back here in the next Olympic if LeBron can kind of rally the troops. But the Redeem Team was really cool to me back in 2008. I've talked about that a bunch, but nothing can touch the Dream Team in terms of star power and what that meant globally to the Olympics and to the sport of basketball. So it's, I guess, a positive that the U.S. didn't quite get it done in '88.
Last one here from the Bayou Ford chat. Lars in the chat said, what if Nick Saban retires at the end of the season?
This has been a stupid question for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I don't think it's stupid anymore. I want to be very clear. I think Nick Saban's going to be the coach at Alabama next year. I feel confident in that. But we're getting there.
I think the next 3 years.
And it's not necessarily an age thing, although that's a big factor, but that's not like the factor. It's probably not a tired. This is a new world. This world is so much different than it was 4 years ago. And you're just going to see some guys check out.
We've already seen it in college basketball. I mean,
yeah,
Coach
Jay
K,
Wright was like, done.
Jay Wright.
And Coach K is like significantly older,
Yeah.
but it's the same type deal. I mean, it's just a different world. I mean, Coach K
Roy
had to
Williams.
deal with the one and done thing. So he did that the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years, 8 years of his career, and did that as well as anybody. But we're getting there. And if he retires at the end of the season, I guess to answer the question, I'm fascinated by what Alabama would do. I really am.
I mean, there's always the Dabo thing, especially if Clemson's down this year, maybe.
Yeah, I think that would be such a terrible decision by Dabo. I mean, he would get fired. I have very little doubt if they hired a coach who is openly against the transfer portal, who is following that guy, and he threw up back-to-back 9 and 3s, like, see ya. That's it. I mean, they will have such irrational expectation at that place because of what just went on, because they don't realize that they're not special. Like, they don't get it. And they'll figure it out when he leaves. This is not an Alabama thing. This has been a Saban thing for 15 years. It's very obvious. It's very evident. The next Shula could be right around the corner. There's nothing that's stopping Alabama from becoming Texas. There's nothing that's stopping Alabama from becoming, it can happen. Now, you can hire the next guy that's great. It can happen. But it could not, and that would make me really, really smile. So it would be fascinating to know what they would do, but I would welcome it, quite frankly. We'll have to see. That's What If Wednesday here on a Wednesday edition of the show. When we come back, we do anniversaries around here from time to time. I'm excited about the one that we'll do coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready to bet the NFL week and start it off right, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday Night Football coming up tomorrow. Just bet a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game, and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the same-game parlays that are pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/1045 so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issues and eligible bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or somebody has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
This Sunday as we bring you 3 NFL games, starting with our noon kickoff, the New England Patriots against the New York Jets. Immediately following that game, it's the Chicago Bears against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then our nightcap, the Steelers and the Raiders. Tune in here on 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up hour 1 here, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Thanks for hanging out. We do some anniversaries here from time to time, and this one is special to me. It is my favorite day that I have ever spent on LSU's campus. 20 years ago today, September the 20th, 2003, the Georgia Bulldogs came to town. And game day was here. I was a sophomore in high school. And that's the day in my lifetime that LSU announced itself on the national stage. Yeah, great win in 97 against Florida. Awesome. Yes, you won the SEC in 2001, and you went to the Sugar Bowl and beat Illinois. And those were great. But Georgia was a force at that point, and they came into Baton Rouge as a favorite, and game day was here. And that day, what I'll remember most is that LSU fans decided that that was not going to be a game that LSU was going to lose. And they did something that has, to my knowledge, never been done previously and not done in earnest since we tried in 2008 in the Alabama game, or the Georgia game, sorry. But that didn't work very well. But in that game, LSU fought so hard and played so tough on defense, and Billy Bennett missed a couple field goals in the first half, and LSU was right there in striking distance and had a lead late in the game. And then you gave up the Tyson Browning screen pass 90-plus yards to tie the game. Down the far sideline, down the Georgia sideline, and he scored, and that would generally put a stadium into shell shock. And instead of going to shell shock and quiet and depressed and dejected, the entire stadium, after a 90-plus yard screen pass to tie the game, rose up and started chanting, LSU, LSU. It was, I'd never seen anything like it. Unrehearsed, unprovoked, it just came out. We're not going to lose. And Devery brought the kick back near midfield, and then one of the greatest plays in the history of that stadium brought everybody to their feet.
Michael Clayton in motion. Mock rolls out, looks deep, fires it as he is hit. He's got Skylar Green. Touchdown! LSU!
Which makes my hair stand up on my arms. Obviously we know that team went on and won a national championship, and LSU hadn't really slowed down since. And I think that was the day that started it. I was there in 97 for the Florida game. I was there in 2007 for Florida and Auburn. I wasn't there last year for Alabama, but I've been in a lot of the great games in Tiger Stadium history. No, for the Earthquake game, wasn't there for Billy Cannon. And there's awesome memories for everybody in a lot of those games, and you can have your favorite here or there. That's my favorite one, and it was in the day, and that's okay. I was on the ramps of the PMAC for game day, was sitting on the east side, and I'll never forget that one. And I don't know that there can be one moving forward in my lifetime that feels like that, because to me, LSU was still scratching and clawing to be relevant. And maybe at some point during my life, we'll go through a 10 or 12-year span where LSU just stinks. That hadn't happened yet. And maybe it'll feel like that if we come out of that. But since then, we've played for 4 national championships. We've won 3. We're a blue blood in the sport now. And entering that day, we weren't. So that's my favorite game ever. It was 20 years ago today, LSU in Georgia from Tiger Stadium. I'll never forget it. I'm glad my buddy was born on September 19th so he could bring us for his birthday party. Thanks, Greg Pugh. Huge shout out. All right, that's it for hour 1 here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open things up with some sound on Brian Kelly and how the Greg Brooks situation impacts LSU on the field. And we talk with JD Buckell of On 3 Sports about national college football topics. What if Wednesday? A lot of different things. Could you find out the day of your death? If you could, we talked about that. When we come back in hour number 2, I'm going to talk about freshman running backs at LSU and what we can expect from Caleb Jackson moving forward. Quinn Grovey, former all-conference quarterback for Arkansas and member of the Arkansas Radio Network, is going to join us at 2:15. Those power rankings are coming up. Just sharpen your pitchforks. Come back after SportsCenter. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news, Giant star running back Saquon Barkley out tomorrow night against the 49ers because of an ankle injury. An admission from Bears quarterback Justin Fields that he felt robotic in the loss to the Buccaneers, didn't feel like he was playing like himself. When asked why today, Fields answered, could be coaching. That's likely part of the problem, notes co-host of Cap and Hood on ESPN 1000 in Chicago, David Kaplan.
I don't think he has a big issue overall with the coaching staff. I do think he has an issue with some of the play calling because some of the play calling has been awful. But Justin also has to wear the fact he's been awful too. Justin has played 2 terrible football games.
David Kaplan on Carlin versus Joe. Fields also said this week his goal is to just play football. The Browns are bringing back Kareem Hunt in the wake of the season-ending injury to All-Pro running back Nick Chubb. 1 year worth up to $4 million, reports ESPN's Adam Schefter. Hunt did spend the past 4 seasons with Cleveland. Panthers quarterback Bryce Young held out of today's walkthrough with an ankle injury.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman. Coming up on Thursday, I'll tell you which AFC North team is the one that is most likely to break away from the rest of the pack. We'll talk about that and more on Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and ESPN2.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Rolling right along, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half that work week in the rearview mirror. I guess we're now working towards the weekend. Quinn Grovey is going to be with us in 15 minutes. 2-time All-Southwest Conference quarterback for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He now does the color commentary for the Arkansas broadcast. Excited to get Quinn's thoughts on the Hogs as they come down for a 6 o'clock kickoff inside Tiger Stadium. Sometimes you have a thought and you say, well, let me go look that up and see if statistics kind of back that up. And sometimes it does, and you're right, and you can support it. And sometimes you find a different story. And so as I was considering Caleb Jackson and his progression into this offense, I considered, I can think of some freshman running backs that have had really good goes at LSU, but it feels like it takes some time for them to ease in. Whenever we sit there on signing day and you look at a freshman, and if they play quarterback, you're not expecting them to go right in there and play. They play defensive tackle, you're probably not expecting them to get right in there and play. Quarterback takes some experience. There's a lot on a college quarterback's plate. It's just far more complicated and complex and faster than it was in high school. A lot of times on the defensive line, you got to put on some weight and understand how to play with technique against the guys that are your size for the first time. But a lot of times we look at like a wide receiver running back, like, yeah, just get out there and play. Like, you just go. You're really fast and you were a 4 or 5 star. Like, let's go. I think a lot of times that happens with running backs as well. And Caleb Jackson has shown us some things in scrimmages, and he put the highlight reel run on tape on Saturday. Looked good running the ball and Grambling for the most part, had his first touchdown. But when should you expect him to really kind of take over? Because I think the evidence supports the fact that he's the most gifted running back on the team, right? He's bigger and stronger and faster than Logan Diggs is. He's significantly faster than Noah Cain. He's bigger and stronger than Josh Williams. Like, he's got the most tools in the toolbox at running back. But when should you expect him to kind of push through? And I went back and looked at some guys over time who came in as highly touted backs and how'd they do? Well, Leonard Fournette is the most obvious example. I didn't use Darius Geis because Darius Geis came in as a freshman when Leonard Fournette was here. Like how many carries are you supposed to get as a freshman when Leonard's toting the rock, right? But Leonard came in, and Terrence McGee and Kenny Hilliard were seniors, and they were the guys who took the lion's share of those carries, and they both played well in that game against Wisconsin and Houston. That was Leonard's first game. Leonard in 2014 didn't really break out until the 7th game of the season. LSU's only played 3 this year. The 7th game was at Florida, and in that game, LSU gave him the football 27 times for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. In Leonard Fournette's first 2 SEC games, he had a total of 17 carries for 90 yards. But we know what happened in Gainesville. You know what happened in A&M. Hood ornament, Reese Davis on the call, trucked that safety and ran to the end zone. In that game, he had 146 yards. And then he had 143 yards against Notre Dame in the bowl game. And he really took off late in his freshman year. You remember probably the Heisman pose he struck against Sam Houston, but really Leonard didn't break out until game 7. Jeremy Hill. Now, this is a little different because Jeremy missed his first year at LSU. His class signed and they played in 2011. He didn't show up as a freshman until 2012. But his first breakout game wasn't until October the 13th. That was the South Carolina game where he had 17 carries for 124 yards. And he ran for over 100 yards in that game and the next 2 against Alabama and A&M. But again, October the 13th was when Jeremy kind of took over for Kenny Hilliard and Michael Ford and Spencer Ware and those guys. He became the lead back as a freshman, but it was mid-October again. In 2011, LSU had a stable of backs, like just a lot. And it started with Spencer Ware, and he was the hammer. He was just pounding. And then you had Michael Ford, who was the speed guy on the option pitches to the edge. Alfred Blue was a really good player on that team as well. But Kenny Hilliard kind of became the lead back. But he didn't get 10 carries in any game until October the 22nd against Auburn. He ran for 122 against Arkansas in the comeback game, the Tyron punt return game. And then he ran for 72 and 2 touchdowns against Georgia. And he kind of became the lead back for that team, even though they had a lot of guys. But again, Kenny Hilliard, October the 22nd. Maybe the most notable example of this, and it was kind of like Jeremy Hill because there was a gray shirt involved, was Justin Vincent. I just told you that we're at the 20-year anniversary of LSU in Georgia in 2003. Justin Vincent didn't get a carry in that game. To use a little bit of a pun there, Chiron Carey ran for a touchdown in that game. And Joseph Adai was a key back early in that season for LSU. But Justin Vincent emerged against Auburn on October the 25th. That was his first 100-yard game. Then in the biggest games for that 2003 team, at Ole Miss with Eli when he fell down, Justin Vincent had 22 carries for 105 yards in that game. We know against Georgia in the Georgia Dome, SEC Championship game, in the rematch of that game from Tiger Stadium, 18 carries for 201, including the long one down the right sideline. And then against Oklahoma, 16 carries for 117 yards and a touchdown, including the big play to start the game. But again, Leonard Fournette, week 7. Jeremy Hill, October 13th. Kenny Hilliard, October 22nd. Justin Vincent, October 25th. These breakout freshman backs who had great seasons didn't get there until mid-October. And as I sit here, I think that's realistic. I don't think that Logan Diggs' role in this offense is going away. I don't think that Josh Williams' role in this offense is going away. I think Caleb Jackson's role in this offense is going to grow. Now, we've had some tape all week long on SEC Network or ESPN of Jaden Daniels' performance on Saturday. It's been everywhere. Highlights are all over the place. Go watch them. Most of those deep throws down the field, either Josh Williams or Logan Diggs sticks their nose in there and picks up the blitz. That is crucial. And it's not fun to talk about, and it's not fun to watch unless you're the coach or the quarterback. But it's crucial. And I'm not here to tell you that Caleb Jackson can't pass block. I have no idea. No idea. Don't pay attention to that when they're running through cones at practice. Didn't see enough scrimmage to know. And he hasn't played a ton in the games to get a real feel for how he would handle Ole Miss blitzing on the road next week in front of a loud crowd. I don't know how he would handle 100,000 in Bryant-Denny going nuts and Jaden Daniels trying to change the protection pre-snap. Like, I don't know how that looks. I got a pretty good idea of how it looks if you hand him the ball and block for him. It looks pretty good. But I don't know what the other stuff looks like. Logan Diggs, Josh Williams, got it. They're in there. They stick their nose in there. They're in the right spot. They get it done. And that's crucial. And I don't know if Leonard had to learn that, or Jeremy had to learn that, or Hilliard had to learn that, or Vincent had to learn that. I don't know. Every situation's different. There are a lot of variables here other than freshmen, they pretty much figured out in October. Like, there's more to it than that, but I just wanted to add some context to the conversation as to when I expect this to happen. But I will tell you this. By the time LSU gets to late season games, I think Caleb Jackson will have as many carries as anybody on the team game to game. He's explosive, he's strong, he's powerful, and he can do some things that the other backs on this team can't do. So I'm comfortable playing Arkansas on Saturday night with Logan Diggs getting 13, 15 carries. I'm okay if they need to throw Josh Williams in there for 5-8 carries. And those guys need to be in there to protect Jaden Daniels and win the game on Saturday. But hopefully Caleb Jackson's getting a ton of reps in practice. Because he can be as good as some of these guys I just rattled off. He's more talented than Kenny Hilliard was. He's more talented than Justin Vincent. Just need to get that opportunity, and you need to execute. Because while pass protection is not the sexiest thing anyone's ever talked about here on the air, you screw that up one time, you could lose. You fail to identify a blitzing linebacker and Jaden Daniels doesn't see him from the blind side, and your running back's not there and he's looking the wrong way because he couldn't hear, he didn't know where you're supposed to be, and you get a strip sack and a scoop and score. It could be a season breaker. So this is one of those situations when in doing research, I determined, yeah, it's kind of what I thought. True freshman running backs don't usually light it up in September. But all these guys, mid-October to late October, figured it out and became stars. Let's hope Caleb Jackson is the next in that number. Congratulations to Maurice Salome. Maurice is our Week 3 winner of the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest. He wins a Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 4 by noon on Thursday. That is tomorrow. Play the 2022 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. Excited about our next conversation. Quinn Grovey of the Arkansas Radio Network, but also two-time all-conference quarterback, is going to join us. And don't forget, 15 minutes from right now, we'll get to those SEC football power rankings. It's been a little bit of a shakeup from last week. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Head on over to their website, lwcc.com/champions. You can see all the champions of Louisiana that we've talked about over the last year and a half. And right now, we're thrilled to tell you about Marucci Sports, truly a champion of Louisiana. Found in a backyard shed right here in Baton Rouge, handcrafting bats. Now they're all over Major League Baseball. But it's not just creating bats for Major League Baseball players. They've got other initiatives like the Baseball Performance Labs. They've expanded, and their workforce has gone up by 137% because of that Performance Lab. That's helping to attract top talent to Louisiana and keep top talent in Louisiana, something that we fight each and every year here in our state. Tourism, they can do that too. The Marucci World Series is a juggernaut. Thousands of youth athletes, families, coaches to Greater Baton Rouge every July to watch some youth baseball. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Brian Kelly updates the prep for Arkansas. Russ Mitchell will join us, and we'll head to Green Bay to check in on the Packers. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LSU and Arkansas Saturday night from Death Valley. Hogs will come down here and get it on under the lights. Quinn Grovey will be here. He's part of the Arkansas Radio Network. Also was a starting quarterback for the Hogs for 3 years. Led the team to 2 Southwest Conference championships, and he joins us here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Quinn, thanks so much for your time. How are you?
I appreciate you having me on, man. Looking forward to it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We appreciate you joining us. I'm curious, before we get to this year's matchup, you played in the Southwest Conference, won 2 championships. What do you think about the fact that Arkansas is going to be in a conference with A&M as well as Texas and Oklahoma moving forward?
Well, I love it for the fact that Arkansas will now have teams we're familiar with. I mean, when you look at Texas coming into the league, I think that is a rival for Arkansas in a big way, and then Oklahoma is really close in proximity. So it's good when you're in the SEC West and you've got some people that are close to you. And so I love the fact that Texas and Oklahoma will be coming into the league, and I hate the fact that Texas beat Alabama because Texas don't have any business beating Alabama the way that they did, but now they've got this heightened sense of that they're ready to come in and attack the SEC. And I don't know if that's really the case, but I think it really helps out for Arkansas to have teams that are close in proximity to be able to give you a rival. Because I still don't know that we necessarily have a rival. And if I had to say it was one, it's either going to be LSU or Ole Miss. But I don't know that they look at us as rivals the way a rivalry should take place.
LSU's in a weird spot because everybody that they could point to that you would call a rival has a bigger rival than LSU. Auburn has Alabama. Alabama has Auburn. Florida's got Florida State and Georgia, and Ole Miss has Mississippi State, and A&M's got Texas. And it's a weird deal. But I think what's interesting that I think a lot of LSU fans may not realize is that rivalry between Texas and Arkansas still burns pretty hot after all this years, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it does, but I think it burns more for Arkansas than it does for Texas.
Yeah.
Again, I think Texas is more concerned with an Oklahoma or Texas A&M, and it was like that even when I played. I mean, Texas was our biggest rival, but we were probably third in the pecking order, and so that's just kind of a part of it. But the way you get to the top of the pecking order, you win games.
Yep.
And I think that is one of the things that Arkansas has done over the last couple of years with Texas. We've done it a few times with LSU, but still, I mean, it's that's what makes college football so great. I mean, you get an opportunity to play a great team each and every week, and if you can create a rivalry, I think that really makes it fun. But you got to be able to have both teams win, and then you got to have something crazy happen on the field that either officials make a bad call or fans do something that enables it to be a huge rivalry.
Well, you played the position at Arkansas. KJ Jefferson's now done it for 3 seasons. What do you make of the Hog signal caller?
Well, I love it. He's a big guy that's come a long way in regards to his game, what he's doing on the field, off the field. He's a guy off the field that spends a lot of time with community. And so he understands what it means to be the Arkansas Razorback quarterback. And it's a big deal in a state that doesn't have a pro team. But Arkansas is really the biggest part of this state. So he understands the off-the-field stuff. But on the field, he's just gotten better and better. He's a guy that does not want to turn the football over. He did have a couple of turnovers last week, which hurt us. But he's a guy that's not going to turn over. He's a guy that's going to have, over the last couple of years, less than 6 interceptions, very productive touchdown interception rate, very good in the run game. His football IQ is off the charts. A lot of people don't really understand that or see that, but he understands how to break a defense down. And so I'm glad KJ is the quarterback because he helps a football team like the University of Arkansas. And, a lot of people have talked about whether or not he's the best quarterback in the conference coming in, and I know that Jaden Daniels is up there as well. So it should be a fun battle, KJ and Daniels going at it against one another.
Sam Pittman was asked today about the status of Rocket Sanders. He said he ran a little bit yesterday, but he's just not sure. So I'll ask this 2 different ways. 1, how different is this offense without Rocket Sanders? And 2, what does he bring when healthy?
Well, he brings an explosive back that can get to the house at any point in time when he's healthy. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's got the speed, he's got the size. He added some bulk this year, and so he can be very physical at the point of attack, running between the tackles. He's a guy that's looking for those 4- and 5-yard plays, and then all of a sudden he can wear the defense down and then be able to hit that 70-yard play. The run game, though, when you look at it overall, I think it's very similar whether he's in the game or not. I think he's a great back that provides a lot of depth. I mean, he's a bell cow back. So when he's in there and healthy, A.J. Green's going to be shorting some carries. DeBinion's going to be not get as many carries. Dominique Johnson. And so he's the head of the running back committee. And I just think he gives you a big physical guy that is fast. But the run game, I got to tell you, really doesn't change because they're going to run that inside zone. They're going to run that outside zone as their conventional run game. But when things get hectic and when Arkansas cannot run the football, you can rest assured that they're going to shift to the zone read, the RPO. They're going to insert KJ Jefferson into the run game because you can go from power to finesse really, really quickly when you have a quarterback that you have to watch. And so in the first couple of games, Arkansas did not run KJ as much, but they will run him heavily on Saturday.
Chatting with Quinn Grovey, 3-year starter quarterback for Arkansas now, an Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame member of the Arkansas Razorback broadcast team as well. Quinn, Sam Pittman's asked a couple questions earlier this week about his offensive line and how to get those guys to play a little bit better. Have you seen some struggles from those guys? And if so, where has that been?
Well, I think when you look at the very first game versus Western Carolina, I think it was clear that Dan Enos, the offensive coordinator, and Sam said, look, let's go ahead and try to figure out how we can get these 5 guys to work in unison and run the football. We're not going to run KJ, basically. And so I think Western Carolina loaded up the box and really, overcompensated. And now a lot of people would say, okay, it's Western Carolina. You still should be able to run the football. I don't care what they do. But that wasn't the case. But they overcommitted to the run game and stopped us in running the football. Kent State, I think they just won some battles. I mean, really, as crazy as it is to say that, I think they both knew that KJ was not going to run the ball as much as they needed to. And I think against Kent State, we needed to run KJ a little bit more in the second half just to go ahead and secure the win and secure what we were trying to do offensively. And then BYU, KJ had, several carries as well. He had 13 carries against BYU. And I think that that's the sweet spot for Arkansas. KJ needs to have in between 12 and 18 carries to be very effective. But the offensive line struggle in those. But, again, I always say if your offensive line is trying to figure things out, sometimes running that zone read where you can read somebody as opposed to blocking somebody gives you an opportunity to be successful. So I think LSU is going to see a lot of the zone read. And, whether it's Harold Perkins or somebody coming off the edge, hey, we're going to go ahead and let you come on back here, and we're going to read you versus trying to block you, and then let one of our offensive linemen get to the second level.
Obviously, Dan Enos, the new offensive coordinator, the new defensive coordinator as well, with Barry Odom moving on. What's the strength of Arkansas's defense?
Well, the first thing I would say is the fact that you've got 2 deep on the defensive front for the first time in a long, long time that I can remember. You got guys that you can rotate in it, and those guys are very good at creating penetration and lost yardage plays, and that's what you like about them. If you look at this defensive front right now, they've got 30 tackles for loss, and that's a lot. You're talking about 10 tackles for loss per game for Arkansas. So being able to get penetration and put the offense behind the sticks, that is a big thing. So I would say first and foremost, 2 deep at the linebacker position. At the defensive line position. The second would be that you've got some very athletic guys at the linebacker position. You got a guy named Jaheim Thomas that transferred from Cincinnati. He leads Arkansas in tackles with 30. Been very, very good. Chris Paul is a guy that's athletic, that's been a part of the program for a long time. He was able to learn from Drew Sanders and Bumper Poole. And then you've got Brad Spence, who is a freshman who has come in. He had a pick 6 in the very first game. So they've got some athletic linebackers that can run. And when you have a defensive front that is too deep, that can really compete and knock heads with some of the offensive lines in the SEC, then you got to have linebackers that can go in and fill those gaps and make plays. So feel very good about the linebacker position. And then in the secondary, I think we've got some athletic guys back there that can really cover. And so I feel good about the secondary. I feel good about this defense in general. Travis Williams has done a nice job, and so they're better. A lot of times we talk about Arkansas's defense as somebody that is really not helping, but right now they're helping because they're creating turnovers and they're creating field position for an offense that may not be hitting on all cylinders right now.
Big punt return for a touchdown last week. How are the special teams for the Hogs this year?
Well, I will tell you, for the first time since Sam Pittman has been here in fall camp, they live reps on kick return and punt return. And that's because you got a guy like an Isaiah Satania he's a track guy by nature, but he plays football and he's very, very good. He is very, very explosive. He broke a punt last week, but he's going to do more now. He's going to break a few more punts. He's going to break a few more kick returns as well. He's a guy that has the green light to take it out of the end zone. And so when you're repping live special teams, what that tells me is that you believe that you have an opportunity to create field position for your offense or create a touchdown for your offense. And that's what they're thinking. And so that's why they block it up. That's why they're doing that. And they're very aggressive in special teams. So they're thinking it's an additional offensive play when it comes to the return game.
Quinn, thanks so much for your time. Safe travels up from Northwest Arkansas down here to South Louisiana. Enjoy the game on Saturday.
All right. Appreciate you having me on.
That is Quinn Grovey, 4-year letter winner at Arkansas, 3-year starter at quarterback, and led the team, the Hogs, to 2 Southwest Conference championships, now handles the color for the Hogs. That's a name that jumped to me when I was listening to some Arkansas podcasts over the last 2 days, kind of getting ready for the back half of the week and getting ready for this game. Isaiah Satania. He's really fast, and he ran a punt back for a touchdown last week, but his name's awesome. Isaiah Satania just kind of rolls off the tongue. Like that a lot. Well, you'll have to keep an eye out on old Isaiah Satania coming up on Saturday night in Death Valley. All right, it's that time of the week. We'll take a timeout when we come back. Power Rankings on Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team have been at this for 30 years. You do something for 30 years, you probably got it figured out. And they do, especially on the bathroom side. If it's not a great time to move for you, you've got a great interest rate, don't want to look outside your home, but you need a little bit of an upgrade, One Bath and Closets should be your first call. They can come in, give you a free consultation, show you what they can do. It could be a full-scale bathroom renovation or remodel. Might just be a tub-to-shower conversion. You don't have little Myers Palmer who splashes around the bathtub like a crazy person every night. You don't use the tub. Pull it out of there, put in a gorgeous walk-in glass shower. All of a sudden, you've changed the look of your bathroom as well as the functionality of it as well. You won't know unless you have David Duvall and his team come out for that free consultation. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can check out testimonials, check out some of the pictures of their great work, and request that free consultation. Onebathandclosets.com is the website, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail.
Sandgriff, join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza in downtown Baton Rouge. Matt Humans is with us, Dwayne Colucci, and we look ahead to the weekend in college and pro football. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Look, sometimes after a performance, you gotta step up, you gotta take the mic, and you gotta own it. You gotta understand that you were atrocious. You gotta go back to the drawing board. You gotta improve, and that's where I am right now. My power rankings last week sucked. They were awful. They were embarrassing. It was a grotesque performance. Okay, I'm not running from that. Okay, it was awful on every level. Just did a pathetic job. But as I tweeted out earlier, we watched the film. By film, I mean I watched some football over the weekend. I saw some YouTube highlights. I caught a couple SEC Network cut-ups, and we're back. We're back to try to put together a better performance this week. That's really the goal for every team. You go out to practice, you put in the work, and then when it's showtime, you got to be better. And I've got to be better today than I was last week because that was a terrible performance. So let's start at the top. We'll start with number 1 with our SEC Power Rankings. I feel good about these. I think I've nailed it. Last week I felt terrible about it. This week I think I've got it. Number 1, no movement. Georgia Bulldogs. They are right where they were. I found that nobody really wants to talk about the second half against South Carolina where they beat them 21-0. Like, yeah, the first half was bad. They lost the first half 14-3. They didn't move the ball well enough. South Carolina with Spencer Rattler did. They punched it in when they were in the red zone. Like, 14-3 at half's a bad look. But they came out and dominated the second half. I'm going to give them some credit for that. I think they're very good. I think Carson Beck completed a lot of his throws last week. If it wasn't, the most sensational performance I've ever seen, I got Georgia at 1 still. My number 2 team has moved up 2 spots this week. That's LSU. I think that LSU has the best offense in the SEC right now. Not a great half against Florida State. Really good performance in the first half against Florida State, moving the ball, and a great performance against Mississippi State. Jaden Daniels is dynamic. There's a reason the rest of the league voted him the first-team All-League quarterback. Malik Neighbors is a pro. The offensive line, I think, is pretty good. The defense is a question mark right now. But there's a question mark on every team on this list. So I've got LSU at 2. My number 3 team is up 3 spots from number 6 last week. That's where I had the Ole Miss Rebels. I've got them at 3 this week. Yes, they're 3-0. Yes, they went on the road and beat a ranked Tulane team. Yes, they won a game against an ACC team in Georgia Tech. Neither one of those wins was a brilliant performance, okay? So I'm going to give them credit for it, but I'm not going to be over the moon. Jackson Dart's been better than I thought. That was my reservation with Ole Miss entering the season, is like Jackson Dart last year was okay. He wasn't great. That's why they lost almost all their games late. He's completing 66% of his throws, 7 touchdowns to 1 picks. They've got to get Quinshon Judkins going. They haven't. He hasn't gotten over 60 yards in a game, and he's only averaging 3.3 yards per carry. So Ole Miss doesn't really have the identity that they had last year. They couldn't push Tulane around. They were in a dogfight with Georgia Tech. We'll see if they can run the football this weekend. They need to. But I've got them at 3. My number 4 team has moved back 2 spots, and that is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Look, I'm sticking to my claim that Jalen Milroe is a very, very average SEC quarterback at best. I think Jalen Milroe is criticized more harshly, and by me too, but it's all been relative. If Jalen Milroe was the quarterback at Missouri or South Carolina, we would go, man, that's a talented dude. But because you're immediately measuring him with the guys that we've seen the last 7 years, you know the names. It's Bryce, Tua, Mac, Jalen Hurts. Like, you're comparing him to them, even McCarron. He's not nearly as good as those guys, but he is a talent. They got to frickin' block better. Their offensive line looks awful. Proctor at left tackle, true freshman, has been getting worked. He got worked by South Florida. Listen to this. Alabama has given up more sacks than everyone in the league except South Carolina. They are 13th in the league in sacks allowed. That's where the biggest problem is with quarterback. Quarterback's the biggest problem, but offensive line's been awful too. You put those two together, you're not going to score very much. My number 5 team is up 3 spots from last week. I had them at 8. Now I've got them at 5. Y'all aren't going to like this one. This is A&M. They still have the concerns we talked about in August. Their offensive line hasn't been as good as it needs to be, and their DBs are a serious concern. They're not very athletic at corner. But their pass offense is good. It's 4th in the SEC. They're averaging 337 yards per game through the air, and that's what Wigman threw for against Miami. So, yeah, you want to say the ULM stat line doesn't matter? I'm with you there. But against Miami, he threw for 337. Just put this in the back of your brain, like, LSU's defense needs to be better at the end of November than it is right now to face that matchup. I'm okay with them facing Mississippi State with these DBs. I'm okay with them facing Arkansas with these DBs. But really good quarterbacks and wide receivers still give me the heebie-jeebies because of Florida State. I've got A&M at number 5. At 6, I've got Kentucky. That's up 3 spots from 9. They haven't played anybody. Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron. I'm just going to give Devin Leary the benefit of the doubt, and Ray Davis has been great. Ray Davis, their running back, is averaging 7.2 yards per carry. Again, it's against nobody. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt at 6. Here's a big backup for me at number 7. They backed up 4 spots. It's the Tennessee Vols. Their defense looks slow again. Florida's running past them, big plays. Same Florida that looked broken against Utah. And look, Milton is not Hooker. That's just a fact. And you could jump on me and go, oh my goodness, you have Tennessee at 7. You haven't said Florida's name yet. Did you watch that game? I did. I watched a lot of it. And Florida beat their brains in. And that's why I backed Tennessee up 4 spots. And that's why I moved Florida up 5 spots from 13 to 8. But I still think if you play that game at Neyland, I'm going to favor Tennessee. Florida played better, there's no doubt. But I'm not going to be a prisoner of head-to-head results all year long. If you try to do that, you're going to get yourself into a matrix that doesn't work. Could you convince me Florida's better than Tennessee? Absolutely. Do I think so today in Neyland or in a neutral field? I'll play the game and I'll probably take Tennessee. And I know Florida punched him in the mouth. It was not fluky. There were not crazy turnovers. It wasn't something that was poorly officiated. No, I know. I watched it. I was there on the couch. I saw it. I'm still going to take Tennessee over Florida, probably because of last year. And I'm not totally forgotten about the Utah game. So I got Tennessee at 7, Florida at 8. I've got South Carolina backing up 2 spots to number 9. They were 7 last week. They are last in the SEC in scoring offense. That's not good. They are 130th in the country. There are only 133 teams. South Carolina is 130th in rushing yards per game. They are running for 53 yards per game. Rattler has no help. And that's all on the offensive side. Oh, by the way, their defense, 13th in scoring defense in the SEC. I'm giving them some help here because I like Rattler, and I think that he'll keep them in some games against mediocre teams that aren't Georgia. But they better get better, or they're going to back up. I got them at 9. The next two, 10 and 11, are the same as they were last week. I've got Auburn at 10. They lead the SEC in rushing offense, 215 yards per game. I still remember that they went to Cal and only scored 14 points, and that's not very good. So if they want to move up, go beat A&M. Go to College Station and win. You'll move up. But right now, I think their roster is patchwork and not uber talented. I think their coach is a good one. I'm going to leave them right there at 10. I've got Arkansas at 11, same place. Offensive line has got issues. Penalty issues, run blocking issues. I don't think their weapons are terrifying. I know we talked about Isaiah Satania in the last segment, but you're talking about some guys who are a little bit undersized. They did win the yardstick against BYU 424 to 281. That's pretty sizable. But they had 14 penalties. They turned it over twice. They need Rocket Sanders back. And I don't know if they're going to get him this week or not, but I've got them at 11. At 12, up 1 spot is Missouri. Everybody's going nuts because Missouri beat Kansas State. I'm supposed to jump them way up. I don't know about that. Luther Burden's awesome. Luther Burden III, 5-star recruit, big plays. He's sensational. Brady Cooks managed things. He's completing 72% of his throws, 5 touchdowns, no picks. In their next 2 weeks, they're playing Memphis and Vanderbilt. So they should get to 4-0. The question is, are they going to win a game after that? They're out of non-conference games, and they don't have Vanderbilt left after those two. So I don't know about that. I don't think they're great. I've got them at number 12. This is the biggest mover thus far, and hand up. Right here, standing here to take my lashings, to take my verbal abuse. Just an absolute airball by me on my preseason thoughts on Mississippi State. I looked at an offense that had a good running back and a veteran, solid quarterback with 10 seniors on offense and 10 seniors on defense, and a defense that played well last year. And I said, that's going to be a solid football team at Mississippi State. Incorrect. They're awful. Their offense is totally lost. Their defense is unathletic and was totally overmatched last week. If they don't get 5 turnovers against Arizona, they lose on their home field against that team. They're terrible. And I was dead wrong. An absolute August airball. Just standing at the free throw line, put it on the floor, bend the knees, put it up, can't even draw iron. Absolute airball on my part on Mississippi State. They stink. And I still don't think they're as bad as Vanderbilt, who went out to UNLV and lost. So the biggest movers this week, Mississippi State down from 5, which was absolutely ridiculous, to 13. Florida up from 13 to 8. And everybody else was kind of juggling. So we'll go through it one more time. These are my SC Power rankings for this week. Georgia at 1, LSU 2, Ole Miss at 3, Bama at 4. They'll play this week, obviously. A&M at 5, Kentucky at 6. In the 7 spot, I've got Tennessee right in front of Florida at 8. South Carolina at 9, Auburn at 10, Arkansas at 11, Missouri up to 12, Mississippi State tumbles all the way down to 13, and I've got Vanderbilt at 14. I think these are good. I hated last week's rankings. I thought they were bad. Turns out they were worse than I thought. I think I might have something figured out here. But I guess we'll play another week of games and figure it out again next Wednesday. Come back and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Get that Generac generator installed and do it through Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux been operating this business at Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They're a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. How much comfort would you have in your home with your family if in the event of a hurricane or even one of those tough afternoon storms, you've got a generator to power your home when the power goes out? And even more comfort added when you realize you've got a free 10-year warranty with every Generac generator that you purchase from Boudreaux's Electric. Everyone that comes out to install a generator in your home is going to be a full-time employee of Boudreaux's Electric, not somebody they contract out to go handle a job. No, full-time employees going to come to your home and install that generator, and it'll be customized. Every houses are different sizes. Families have different wants and needs. Let Boudreaux's Electric come out and handle your needs with a Generac generator. Same number they have had for 40 years. 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562. Give them a call. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-26.
Kate Voisin, inviting you to join me, along with the coaches Todd Black and Jimmy Roy, for the next edition of Louisiana Prep Weekly. Our special guest will be Port Allen head football coach Don Gibson. Live from Walk-Ons in Town Center, it's Louisiana Prep Weekly, Wednesday night at 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, working towards the weekend, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Been a fun one, been a fast-moving show today. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us here 1 to 3, as we do each and every day. Appreciate when you do as well. We got one more order of business to take care of, and that is, of course, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Lincoln Riley and USC suspended a reporter for catching a side conversation with a player. Suspending reporters from access to a football program. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave this one. I think there are a lot of fans that are always going to side with their team and not the media. That's just a natural thing that most fans do. Most people just don't really have a real affinity for the media. In this case, this is just USC stepping out of bounds. And I've found in my time covering college sports that football programs are just far, 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 far more regimented and strict and paranoid a lot of times than other programs. Like baseball programs in colleges aren't like this. There are no real like media sessions. You just go over there, you talk to the players, you write your story, and you get on down the road. In this instance, there were 2 players who were not like sitting down in the chair on camera in media mode. They were just off to the side, and the reporter just went and chatted with them and picked some things up and wrote it. And USC did not like that. They want to know and basically control the situation all the time, and I just think that's overreaching. I was on Lincoln Riley's side when the Oklahoma student paper got up on a high-rise and looked into practice to see who was taking the reps, Caleb Williams or Spencer Rattler. I think that is where I side with the team going, hey, can we practice in private here and not tell Texas who our starting quarterback is, because the over-aggressive journalists, and I use air quotes, in the student newspaper need to get in on a 4th floor and look into practice? Like, let's not do that. But in this case, I think USC was wrong.
Bears QB Justin Fields said a possible reason for his poor play this season could be coaching. Quote, could be coaching. Take it or leave it.
I thought that was just an amazing answer. And apparently today he's come back and said that he may be taken out of context. I don't know anything about Matt Eberflus and the Bears coaching staff, but I'll leave this. Justin can probably play. I think he can probably play a little bit better than he has I'll just leave that at that.
Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are dating. Odell Beckham Jr. and Kim Kardashian are dating.
Oh, Lord.
True love. Take it or leave it.
I will leave that. I mean, Travis Kelce's just setting himself up to be the next song, which is just inevitable. And Odell Beckham and Kim Kardashian, that is, you want to talk about absolutely no chance. You talk about personalities that are not going to be able to handle each other. I hope they have a great time, but there's no future there. Like I don't know Odell or Kim personally, but I've seen enough of them over the last 15 years to know where that's headed, and it's probably not awesome. So, again, I hope Travis and Taylor have a great time. I hope Kim and Odell have a good time. I'm not going to necessarily hold out a lot of hope there.
Last one here. Rafael Nadal conceded that Novak Djokovic is the tennis GOAT. Take it or leave it.
I think I'll take it. I'll obviously take Nadal on the clay, and I'll take Roger on the grass. But in terms of just the game as a whole, I think Novak's probably your answer there, and we'll see how many he can rack up. He's always gonna have a little asterisk for me because how many did they hold him out of because he didn't get the shot? Like 3 or 4? I have no idea, but there were a few he didn't get to play in because he wouldn't get the shot. So it's probably the correct take there. All right, that's it for us here on this Wednesday. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. We opened up with some LSU football thoughts. J.D. Pickell of On 3 was with us. What If Wednesday. 20 years since LSU and Georgia in 03 today. They would have kicked it off 25 minutes ago. Greatest game in the history of Tiger Stadium for my money. Talked freshman running backs. Quinn Grovey, the Arkansas Radio Network. Matt's going to drive you home next. See you tomorrow. Hunt Palmer Show.